Hi, in this video I want to show you how we can build paginated reports in SAP Analytics Cloud. Up until this point, SAP Analytics Cloud has been able to build some great looking visualizations with interactive capabilities. We also have features such as financial planning and predictive and smart features such as smart discovery and search to insight. But the one thing where SAP Analytics Cloud has some development room is in paginated transactional reporting. SAP is making great strides this year in adding those capabilities. Specifically, in the current versions of SAC, we now have the ability of creating a table that contains transactional data that can grow to the size of the canvas on which it's projected. But now we also have the ability of paginating or going through or paging through pages of that data. So if the table data in your table spans multiple pages, it can then spill over into the second page, or the third page, or the fourth page, and you have the capability of moving through those pages using a navigation bar. So in this video, I want to show you how we can build those paginated reports directly inside of SAC. So we'll start off here by logging into my tenant. And so the very first thing that I want to do is I want to create a story. Whenever we create a story, we typically need three things. First thing you need is a connection to data. The second thing that you need is a model that's built on that connection. And then the third thing is the story that's built on top of the model. Now, there are multiple different ways to create stories. You can create data sets, you can create models, but the traditional route is typically a connection to a model, to a story. So in this section, or in this session, I'm not going to build the model. I'm using a fictitious insurance claims data set in a model that I've already created. So I'm just going to reuse that in the story. And then show you how we can build a paginated report that we can then use on the screen. We can also export it as a paginated report to, say, a PDF, or even print it out to a physical piece of paper. So let's start off by creating a new story. I'm going to go to main menu, create story. And here, I'm just going to add a blank canvas page because I really don't want to start with any data at this point in time. But the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my story preferences here. So if I click the wrench icon here, go to preferences. Up at the top left, you see page settings, responsive pages, canvas pages. Just click on canvas pages. And then down in the canvas pages preferences, I'm going to change page size to fixed. I'm going to change the size to letter. I'm going to change the orientation to portrait. So now what I'm doing is I'm planning on building a report that's going to print out on a standard letter size piece of paper, 8.5 by 11 inches. So here I've got orientation as portrait and everything else is fine. So I'm going to click OK. So once I set those preferences, the preferences don't apply to the current canvas that I'm working with here. So I'm going to create a new page and add a canvas. Okay. So the very first thing that I'm going to do as I'm building my story is I'm going to start off with a header. So to build my header, I'm going to begin with a shape. And I'll just do a rectangle insert. And so as soon as I do that, you'll see that it gives me an initial rectangle in the shape of a square. And then you can see the 8.5 by 11 sheet that's outlined with shadows on the left and the right. And so that's showing us the borders of the page. So I'm going to move the shape and just give myself a little bit of a header. I can go in and add a couple of things. So I could go into the designer. I could change the fill color to a different color. If I want to lighten that up a little bit into a blue color from black. And then I'm going to drop in an image. So just really make this start to look like the header of a standard report. So I'll move this image on top. There we are. There, we have a Protiviti header. And I can always go in and continue adding in things, like I could put in a text box here and just call this insurance claims report. Change the color to white. and then bold it, make it a bit larger so it looks more like the title of a report. So there we are. So we have something that's starting to look more like a report. So now the next thing I want to do is I want to add in a table that's going to contain the data for my transactional report. So I'm going to go to table. And now with my model, so it's asking me for what data I want to show in the table. I'm going to show, let's do insurance claims. And this contains about 1,000 records of data. So I'm going to stretch this table out across the page. I'm not going to worry about my height right now. But now I'm going to format the page so that I can show the correct rows here. So I'm going to use incident state, incident city, and I'll use incident date. Here we are. So now I know this contains a lot of data, and I can scroll down the page here. So this really isn't transactional data at this point. It just looks like a standard table of data. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick this automatically resize table vertically. So you'll notice that here, right now the table just takes up whatever space I've allocated. So I'm going to pick automatically resize the table vertically. And now I'm just going to save the report. Click save. And I'll just call this insurance transactions. Click OK. And we'll save that. Okay. And now that's pretty much all I need to do to build my transactional report, or my paginated report. So I've built my header. I've built the body of the table, which is the body of the report. And now if I go up to the top right and hit view, you'll notice that the table expands all the way down to the bottom of the viewable page. And then whenever I move down, you'll see that we have a page navigation bar that pops up. So if I go next, it goes to my second page, and that's really all the data that I've got. I could expand this all the way out. So if I wanted to do that, let's go back to edit, go to this incident date, into designer, pick hierarchy, and I'm going to flatten this out just to give me more pages of data. So now I'm looking at all of my incident states, incident cities with all the incident dates in my records or in my data. And oh, I forgot to change my my accounts here. So let's go change the accounts. I'm going to add in my claims data here. So if I pick injury claim, property claim, vehicle claim, which are the three measures that make up the total claim amount. So pick total claim amount. You'll see now we have 4 columns that contain our measure data that's aggregated by our dimensions in our rows. So now it's looking more like a transactional report. And now that we have a flat incident date, I'll go back to view, and you'll see that as soon as I go to view, the table expands all the way down to the bottom, and then goes to the next page, and then the next page. So you see we have multiple pages in our paginated report. You can always go out to the end here and see the very end of the report. So then I could go in and add more features to it. I could put in my totals by state so that it would give me my grand total by state for every individual state. I could get grand totals at the end, get totals by city, just by going in and using the standard features of the SAC platform. So I could just do show totals for state. And then as I'm scrolling through, so if we go back to view, you'll see that I have the grand totals now at the top. I could change that to show at the bottom. And then it would navigate through as soon as it changes state. See, we're still in North Carolina. So there's New York. That would show at the top. So now we need to keep scrolling through, and you would see the totals for each individual state. All right. So now if you wanted to print this out, we would go to Save, Export, and I would change this to PDF since I'm just going to export this as a PDF. What I'm going to do is pick All. I'll uncheck Appendix, and let's see. I'll click export here. Typically this is displayed. I'll pick export. Yep, so that didn't work properly. So when we export, we need to make sure that we're in view mode here. So if we go to page range here, so you see in the settings here, this is not available. If I click cancel and go to view the report where we actually see the paginated data, we can then go to file, export, and now we have include report pages and export available. I'm going to uncheck insert appendix and hit export. And so now it's going to generate my report. You'll see in the background there's paging through the pages of data. So depending on how much data you've got, this may take a couple of minutes. Hopefully there's not too terribly many pages of data in your report. All right, and you'll see in my browser it's downloading the PDF, and I open the file here. So now there's my report. So now if I scroll down, you can see how it's paging through the multiple pages. You can see the page break in the PDF here. And then as we move through, you'll see the all the totals we have in the bottom or at the top there. We scroll all the way through, and it should take us through all 10 pages of the report. Yep, there we are. So this is these are some great strides with building paginated reports directly inside of the SAP Analytics Cloud platform. More pagination features are coming this year with the platform, according to the roadmaps from SAP. That includes page numbers, being able to build dynamic footers, because right now if you try to put in the page number dynamic text object or you try to put in a footer, it's not really going to work the way you would expect with a paginated report. But this is these are great steps in getting us moving forward so that we could do all of our data visualization in addition to our paginated reporting, transactional reporting directly inside of the browser in SAP Analytics Cloud. So thank you for your attention today. Let me know if you have any questions.